So you've loaded up Warframe, played the stellar new player introduction, and now all of a sudden you feel left to your own devices and thrown off the deep end. Wondering what you're supposed to be doing, you must now embark on the constant battle with your YouTube and Google search bars in hunt of the Warframe tutorial videos and constantly needing to check the wiki. Whilst you may grow to accept this over the span of your Warframe journey, what your real goal should be early game is discovery and fun. Making your way through the star chart, gathering mods and resources passively through playing, completing missions and leveling up your earned mods via those resources to not only become stronger, but progress through the planets leading to boss fight missions where you can earn Warframe components to build and try new characters. And of course crafting weapons along the way. Today I'm going to give you a selection of early game Warframes that tick several boxes of your needs. A new player Warframe should be 1. Accessible through the base star chart within a very reasonable amount of playtime through the planets. 2. Simple and easy to learn whilst being strong enough to clear the star chart with low investment. And 3. Not be held back by higher mastery rank requirements or resources available a bit later in the game. But first we must address our 3 starter Warframes that you can choose from at the beginning of your journey. At this point in time, this may be the strongest all 3 of the starter frames have been. Excalibur, Mag and Volt are all amazing options for early and late game, and there is no bad option between the 3. In addition, they can all be acquired really easily and early regardless of which you choose, meaning that you will get all of them sooner or later anyway. If you don't pick Excal as your starter, you can acquire his main blueprint for credits in the market, and his 3 other component blueprints from making your way to Mars and defeating the boss Lech Krill on the mission called War. You'll receive a random component blueprint every time when fighting bosses, and duplicates can happen, so you'll most likely have to beat the boss more than 3 times to get all 3 components, unless you get super lucky of course, and this can be said for pretty much every single boss fight in the game when it comes to getting these Warframe components. You are essentially farming the boss over and over and over until you get those components you need, being the neuroptics, systems and chassis. Mag can be acquired by defeating the Sergeant in the mission Iliad on Phobos. This is the same process as Excal's acquisition. The main blueprint can be bought with credits in the store, and her other 3 component blueprints from repeatedly killing the Sergeant, who also by the way is the easiest and most pathetic boss in the game. This is an absolute whitewash. And finally Volt, who is acquired by joining a clan dojo once you hit mastery rank 2. This is an important note in the video, as the frames that we're going to diverge onto after talking about the starters have to do with Volt's acquisition, but just know you have to be mastery rank 2 to join a clan dojo. But don't worry, we also have Warframes that we're going to talk about for early players that don't require mastery rank 2 and you could get at mastery rank 1 or 0. Once you join a clan, you can go to your clan's dojo and enter the Tenno Lab, where you will acquire his main component blueprints, but also some other Warframe options. To be honest, whenever asked which frame you should pick at the start of the game, I always say to pick the frame who either looks the coolest or sounds the most fun after you've read off their abilities, because they're all good and you can get the other 2 later, so just prioritize enjoying yourself before anything. Warframe is a game that can be super overwhelming to newer players, but at the end of the day, this is a video game. You should be playing it for enjoyment, so don't overcomplicate things, just choose and do what looks fun. You want a melee swordsman? Go with Excal. You want a riot shield speedster? Go with Volt. You want a defense stripping, area denial, room nuker? Go with Mag. And speaking of the Tenno Lab in the Clan Dojo acquisition, it's the perfect segue to talk about some of the other early game option Warframes, which are available in the same lab. Banshee, Nezha, Volt, Wukong and Zephyr's components are all available in this lab, so which one of them is the best for new players out of this selection? Banshee does not require rare resources to craft, but is less new player friendly due to not really having much survivability compared to other frames. He's a glass cannon with some of the best damage in the game, but better off being made once you have more modding experience in my opinion. Nezha is fantastic for newer players, providing speed, tankiness, CC and damage, but he does require Argon crystals to craft, which can be primarily farmed in the Void. Argon crystals are an expiring resource and a little tedious for newer players to farm without boosters. Volt is a perfect option. Wukong is a really top tier Warframe in the game right now, but requires a resource named Nitane in order to craft. Nitane extract are super slow to farm and even slower than Argon crystals, and you're probably only going to get them from your Nightwave. That's if you're even paying attention to that at the start of the game, which may take you a moment. Nitane is just not a very new player friendly resource compared to some of the others. But finally, we have Zephyr. She does not require rarer resources to craft and is one of the most powerful and easy to understand frames. She has incredible mobility for the open worlds with her tailwind, easy grouping and CC with her airburst, turbulence will deflect projectiles and keep you alive, and tornadoes will group enemies and disperse your weapon's damage across the enemies caught inside the tornadoes, allowing you to mop hordes way faster. And by simply being airborne, you also gain critical chance boost to your weapons, which will help your weaker weapons compete earlier in the game. Like I said, she can be acquired from the Tenno Lab of your clan's dojo, which requires Mastery Rank 2 to be in. Easily one of the best early game frames, and I highly recommend. So what if you want a new Warframe sooner than Mastery Rank 2? Enter Rhino. Arguably the best new player frame and the one you shall most likely obtain before the others. His main blueprint can be bought for credits in the market, whilst his other 3 blueprint components can be farmed from repeatedly killing the Jackal boss on Fossa Venus. Rhino provides you with an easy to understand kit, offering survivability, CC and damage buffing. His first ability is a solid CC mobility tool that can be made even stronger with the later use of augments. His second ability, Iron Skin, is just a huge bonus layer of extra HP in the form of Overguard as well as knockdown resistance, allowing you to breeze through the star chart completely unscathed. But as you get further through the game and the missions get harder, you can also make this ability way stronger via modding, and it has some of the best scaling in the game. Rhino's Roar is a huge damage buff applying to both you and your allies within range. And his Stomp is a room-wide stasis lockdown that can be made even stronger with augments that you farm up later. Rhino is one of the most convenient frames, providing a fun tanky playstyle with great buffing and team support without being complex or confusing. Sticking with the theme of simplicity, I believe that Valkyr is a true sleeper here when it comes to new player frames. Sure, she may have 2 lackluster abilities, but she more than makes up for it with huge melee damage and survivability. She's the perfect exalted weapon alternative to Excalibur, sacrificing a bit of range and versatility for damage and tankiness. Found a bit later in the star chart on Jupiter, her blueprint is once again available in the market, and you can farm her components blueprints by defeating Alad V on the mission Themisto on Jupiter. Her Hysteria ult makes you invulnerable and grants you access to her exalted talons, which can be modded separately in your inventory. Her second ability, Warcry, grants you and your allies bonus armor and attack speed. In addition to this, it can be made to last forever via its augment when you choose to acquire it later in the game. Despite her 1 and 3 not being great, she can wipe the floor with her 4th and 2nd abilities, tanking and meleeing through anything with very little investment. Seriously, her Valkyr talons do not require crazy mod setups to be good, especially if we're only considering star chart. And this frame is a good long-term investment because if you do decide to invest more in her mods, she can blitz through the steel path later in the game as well. Having a really strong and easy to mod exalted weapon is going to level the playing field for enemies that are maybe giving you a tough time, and I think that is a really good thing to have to a newer player. I highly recommend trying out Valkyr. And my final frame recommendation for today's video is Nova. Nova's blueprint can be bought in the market, while her components are farmed on the node Nama on Europa, where you must repeatedly defeat the Raptor boss in order to farm her parts. Nova recently got a rework that made her even more powerful than she already was. Her Null Star grants you seeking projectiles as well as a damage reduction for tankiness. She can nuke a room with her chargeable antimatter drop, you can teleport across entire tile sets with the use of her 3rd ability, and her 4th is one of the most important abilities in the game. Molecular Prime can slow down enemies when the ability is tapped, or speed them up when held down. Every enemy affected will also be 100% more vulnerable to damage. This skill can either lock down a room and reduce enemies' damage output and movement, or you can use it to speed up enemies, making farms and missions far more efficient. One of the most versatile frames in the game right now, and although not as simple as Rhino or Valkyr, it's still pretty easy to learn and use. So those are my top recommendations for the frames to farm up as a new player, but before I go we must address Duviri. Completing the Plains of Duviri quest in your codex will give you access to the Duviri open world where you can play the circuit. Not only would I recommend playing the circuit and other Duviri missions on a regular basis as a new player, as they drop important resources and are friendly to newer players, but you can get Warframe components from the circuit. Every week there will be a rotation of 3 Warframes to choose from. Once chosen, your reward path for doing the circuit will lead to unlocking each component for said Warframe. This is an alternative way of multitasking and unlocking new frames whilst you farm Duviri, which is really important, and the list of available frames is quite large. So if you want a specific frame, it's worth looking up their acquisition method and seeing if they are available in the circuit's rotation if that's where you prefer to farm them, as opposed to their regular acquisition, which could be anything from bounties to boss fights or a quest. I hope you new players that are watching this video found this useful. Be sure to let me know in the comments. I very rarely make new player content on this channel, so if I've done well and you guys want to see more of this, please give some constructive criticism in the comments as well. I appreciate all the support on the videos. I hope all of you new players enjoy the frames you end up trying out. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.